Hello everyone, Michael here from Quarter Squared. Today I am going to do some cross-hatching, basic cross-hatching. In case anyone's asking, today I am using glide thread in the top and in the bobbin. Military gold is the color. Today I'm doing kind of overhead, so I'm not sure how that's going to work out. Let's see what happens. If my head gets in the way, I apologize. I've got my stitches set on... I like to do 10 stitches per inch when I'm doing straight lines. I'll increase that when I'm doing curves, but that's just my preference. I'm using an Anova 22. Here we go. So I have already pre-marked this. I pre-marked it. I marked it before I loaded it onto the machine or onto the frame. So I'm just following that line using a basic straight ruler. And for those, oops, sorry, hit the camera. I knew it was gonna happen. Okay, so this top area that I've sectioned off is for cross-hatching that I'm doing on the diagonal. The bottom one will be just for simply straight, up and down, easy peasy grid line. I knocked the camera again, sorry. In fact, I may do the straight one first. If you're new to rulers, when I use this, I'm putting at least 1 or 2 fingers off to the side as I use it. So typically it's 3 fingers on, 2 fingers off. That's how I'm holding it. When it comes to going horizontal like this, I've got 4 fingers on my ruler right now. I've got my thumb below it. And I'm walking my fingers. When I get towards the edge of my ruler, I'm stopping, readjusting. 4 fingers, this is me, 4 fingers on. You might be okay doing 3 if you want more control. 4 fingers on, thumb down here. And I'm walking my fingers. As I continue quilting, I'm pushing the stop button. When you get more comfortable, you may have the machine continue to move while you're moving the ruler. Some people are able to do this. Do you see I'm taking the ruler with me? Taking the ruler with me. You don't have to, but that's something some people do at times. I've done it at times. I'm stopping on my corner. Again, I prefer the left side. You could work like this if you like. Sometimes you have to. For me, here's my 2 fingers off, 3 fingers on, keeping my ruler in parallel to that side. I'm coming down to my point, I'm stopping. Okay, so I've outlined my 2 large rectangles. Within them, these are 8 by 8 blocks, that's what they're representing. These are 8 by 6 blocks, just because I wanted to fit all this in the throat space and whatnot. I used a friction pen for these, so that comes out with heat. When we're all finished, I'll run the iron over this so we can see it without lines. But basically, I have marked 1-inch lines all the way around. I kind of sewed over most of these, but I'll be able to see them. So 1-inch markings. I did not put 1-inch markings on this top one because I'm going to be going diagonal. And I'm going to be using the lines on the the top side and the bottom side, the left and the right. All right. So first, let's do this bottom section. Let's see. I might need to move the camera. Let's do the bottom section. And this is going to be simple, straight up and down lines. So I am going to travel in the ditch. I'm keeping my ruler to the left for this one, and my needle is down right on this mark at the 1-inch mark. I'm using the guideline on my ruler to line up with this outside seam, and it's about, well, it's exactly a 1/4 inch away from the mark at the top. Okay, so here we go. You can do this any number of ways. I'm gonna go just like this, like piano keys. So I reached the top part of the section. I'm going to travel over. I'm going to use my ruler to help guide me. I'm going to stop at the 1 inch mark on my ruler. This is 3 lines away, which is 1 inch, and I'm making sure that I'm a 1/4 inch away from this mark. So here we go. Traveling down, hitting the mark, and using my ruler to guide me. Over we go. 3 lines on the ruler and on the mark, and up we go. Okay, so I've made 3 lines that are 1 inch apart. Doing the same thing. Going to the 3rd line on the ruler, I can see that the needle is going down into the mark that I made. And down we go. Hitting that mark at the bottom. In regulated mode, I don't use the minimum speed cruise control that some people call it cruise, some people call it minimum sew speed. For Nova, sometimes I've used it and there's nothing wrong with that. Today it's at 0, so when I stop, it completely stops. Okay, moving over to the 3rd line. This is the 1 inch mark. Up we go, traveling over until this 3rd line on my ruler is right on that stitch line. That tells me there's a 1/4 inch, a 1/4 inch, a 1/4 inch, and then I'm a 1/4 inch away, so that's 1 inch. You really don't have to use the lines if you don't want to. You can use just the markings that you made. Like you travel over and you're right there on that mark. You put your ruler up next to it and you look to see what's about a 1/4 inch from there, and you just go with that. The line should be correct on the ruler here. Or you don't have, let's say you don't have any markings at all. You just start with a straight line, and that's probably what you'll end up doing as you get more accustomed to using your rulers. And in that case, you would start your first line. You may give yourself some marks every 7 or 8 inches or so, just to make sure you're not going off track. But once you get that first line, your job is really to just travel over until you see your ruler hit that stitching line, and you make that ruler's line straight on that stitching line, and down you go. So that's not completely perfect, but it is close enough. Okay, so doing the same thing here. I'm going to go ahead and sew this in super speed, and I'll be back with you in just a minute. Okay, I'm at the end of the row and I'm going to start moving across. Basically, I'm lining up my 3rd line, which tells me that that's going to sew 1 inch. And I can see my marks going across here. And here we go. I'll stop on the mark. I'm going to move my ruler, make sure everything's lined up. I've got 4 fingers on the ruler. I've got my thumb down below it. What are you doing, Emerson? My dog is finding a comfortable spot to lay down. Stop at the mark, shift, walking my fingers, stopping on my line, and then I'm going to stay in that previous stitching line until I get to where I see my 3rd line landing on the stitch, and I can tell I'm going to hit the mark, and off we go to the right. You can go as fast or as slow as you want with this. There's no hurry. If I want to go this slow, I can. And I have an ANOVA with lightning stitch, and it will go as slow as I want to go, and the stitches will still look great. Or I can go fairly fast, walk my fingers, move along, stop. If I'm doing straight lines, I've rarely done them in manual mode, but I could. I use manual mode mostly for circular designs. Okay, I moved up. I've got my line on my stitching line. I've got my fingers on my ruler. I've got my thumb down here. And if I didn't mention it before, you need a ruler base when you're doing ruler work. Or an extended base, whatever you want to call it. You need that base under there to support this ruler. So today, this is where it is. I'm using Innova's, the 8-inch one, which is the smaller one. The machine came with the larger one. I can't remember how many inches the larger one is. 12 maybe? Maybe 14, I can't remember. But getting the 8-inch one is something I immediately did because I rarely need more than this much space. That's 3. Yeah, the whole thing is 8 inches. There's about 3 inches, a little bit more than 3 inches in front of the needle. And anything more than that is just taking up sewing space that I need, because this fits fine. So that's stable. You can see that's stable. If I didn't have it on, and let's pretend like this was the edge, your rulers would be lifting up on the sides, and you could easily get under here. And at some point, I'll show you one of my favorite wave rulers that has a big chunk out of it. And I'll tell you, the day that I hit it, it was one of the loudest sounds I ever heard. And that chunk of acrylic flew across the room. And I mean flew, too. It flew across the room. I broke my needle. Luckily, I didn't mess up my timing of the machine, although if I did, I would fix it, and I would know how to fix it because I would look up one of Renae Haddadin's videos on timing her machine. I'll link to that below in case you're one of those people. Of this cross-hatching, and I've simply used my ruler. I've used one line the entire time, which is this third line away from the edge. So the edge itself gives you a 1/4 inch. The first line gives you a 1/2 inch. The the second line gives you 3/4 of an inch, and the third line gives you 1 inch. If you're not able to see the lines very well, this particular ruler has dashed and solid lines. It was easy. I could mark that with a piece of tape if I wanted. But basically, I've just done basic cross-hatching. I should have taken this off earlier and shown you some up close. This is what we just did. This is our regular cross-hatching. Super easy, up close. Okay, I still haven't ironed off the lines, so. Okay, and the next one, I'll show you the diagonal cross-hatching up here. And hopefully, you know what, during the middle of it, I think I will probably take the camera down off of this angle that I had it on, and I will mount it to the machine so that part of the time you're able to see up close. I realized that you couldn't see up close when I was doing this one. Okay? All right. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.